In this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, Steely Dan finally gets what is coming to him, and the build-up to it is ridiculous. If you guys watched last week's episode, you already know that this new guy was introduced who had this stand which could go inside your body, and it went into Joseph Joestar, so now Kakyoin and Polnareff are now going on their fantastic voyage to go inside of his body and stop his weird, freaky stand, which looks like a combination of Jeff Goldblum as the Fly and a space pirate from Metroid. It's a lot to take in, but this was actually a very simple episode. It was basically boiled down to two things: Kakyoin and Polnareff having to deal with the stand, and Jotaro getting his sweet revenge. Man, this was one of the most overextended punching scenes I've ever seen, but it was really satisfying. It wasn't the best episode of the entire series, and I don't even think I would rank it in the top 5, but it was all worth it for that final scene this week. Steely Dan's stand to the lovers really isn't all that impressive, and it's not exactly a powerhouse, especially when compared to Jotaro's, but it does have some pretty cool abilities, where when it actually burrows into your noggin, it can create clones of itself from your brain cells, and these clones have a Hydra effect. What I mean by that is, when you actually kill or destroy them, they multiply, like freaking gremlins. So by the end of the episode, Joseph just has all of these nasty worm buds and clones of the lover's stand just hanging out and having a freaking rave inside of his head. But thanks to Kakyoin and Polnareff, they are able to help out and start to defeat these things in a really ridiculous and messed up scene. But what's really funny about all of this is the way that Joseph is reacting, and he's actually keeping his cool pretty good for the most part. But there's a scene where he's still holding onto the TV in the middle of this street and just screaming at the top of his lungs, and everybody's like, what the hell is wrong with this crazy guy? So they actually have to buy the TV, go up to the top of the building to get a little bit of privacy, and this is where they're able to finish him off. But this is what leads us to the best parts of this week's episode, are the scenes where Steely Dan is just messing with Jotaro. It's just like last week. This week, he's literally just bitch-slapping him. He even goes as far as to make Jotaro steal jewelry from the store and cause the owners to beat the crap out of him and kick him out into the streets. This just fuels Jotaro's anger even more, and he actually writes all of this stuff down just so that he can remember to kick his ass later on. And immediately, once Jotaro starts to notice that he's being defeated, Jotaro just goes into kick-ass mode here. And in a scene that I thought was really shocking at first, he goes into Goku mode for a second. He actually shows a little bit of mercy to Steely Dan. At first, he's like, if we never see you again, and you go to the other ends of the friggin' earth, I will never fuck with you again. But as he's walking away, Steely Dan, of course, has to get all Frieza on his ass and try to attack him, and he tries to use his stand to take over this little girl, but it doesn't work because Kakyoin somehow managed to tie up the stand earlier on that we never saw, and this just gives Jotaro a chance to finish him off with an extended scene of punches, which goes on for quite some time, and I cannot imagine that Steely Dan is going to be alive after this. And they just go from every possible angle, and just when you think the punches are done, they just keep going. It's a really awesome and exciting scene, really gets the blood pumping, and I just love that type of stuff. I love just a good old awesome anime punch. Keep your beams, keep your special weird eye powers. This is what I really love about this series. Like I said, it wasn't the best episode of the series, but it still had some pretty cool stuff. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? If you liked watching people get punched repeatedly, you're gonna like this one. However, it's the build-up to seeing this guy get defeated. You know it's gonna happen. You're just waiting for it. But boy, did it really pay off at the end. I almost wish it could have gone on a little bit longer. They should have just gone crazy and made the last 10 minutes of the episode just Jotaro wailing on him. That's not to say the stuff in the beginning wasn't interesting. It was. It was just crazy. The whole stand that he was using had this really great design, especially when they went inside of his body. All the fight scenes with Polnareff and Kakyoin were very exciting. And it was really awesome just like getting to see their stands on screen with their voices, you know, through them, because a lot of the times they're together, and it just made it seem kind of strange just seeing the stands there, and it made it seem so otherworldly, but that made the scene all the more awesome. Steely Dan hated the character, knew he wasn't going to stick around. As soon as like I saw what Jotaro was going to do to him, I'm like, oh yeah, there's going to be no mercy for this guy whatsoever. And I was a little shocked towards the end when suddenly Jotaro thought he was going to actually like let him go away, but there was no way that Steely Dan was just going to take that lion down. He was definitely going to try and like beat him one more time. But for the most part, this was just a so-so episode, but it did have a little bit of cool action in it, and some really cool imagery. The animation and the artwork was sort of all over the place. There were parts where it looked really good, and there were parts where it could looked a little better. But otherwise, pretty decent episode with a lot of action that had some pretty good payoff at the end. So definitely check it out if you are following the series. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen to Jotaro and his friends next on their journey to Egypt. I'm giving this week's episode a 7 out of 10. Check it out, guys. Pretty cool stuff. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you leave, please hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. And if you watched this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, I would love to hear your thoughts about it. What did you think of Jotaro getting his revenge? And what do you want to see from the future of the series? And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure and go ahead and do that. And you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for those in the description box below.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.